Camera speeding. Sound speeding.
Okay. Brown girls grieve differently. Round table. Take one. How are you guys doing today? Yep, doing good.
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. So, what did you guys do today?
Talk about angel hair pasta first and foremost.
Yikes.
And we, you know, I was chilling at the house.
For sure. Anybody else?
I slept until I got here, and then slept again. I was real tired. But yeah. I'm sorry.
For sure. Anybody else?
Just like regular Saturday stuff, cleaning, straightening up.
Nice. What did you straighten up?
The living room.
Nice.
Nice.
As best as I could.
So was you listening to Taylor Smith?
No,
Taylor
no, absolutely not. No. No, unless we're talking about 2006 Taylor Swift.
2006 Taylor Swift.
Nothing after that.
Smith is what's throwing
You know, rewind happy.
So, Robbie, what'd you do today?
Rehearsals for the thesis film with my talent. It was our first set of rehearsals, so it went really well. It was good.
Yeah.
We're gonna make this film in 2 weeks, so.
Boom.
Hallelujah. Amen. Feel certified. What'd you do today?
Yeah, no, I was chilling at the house, trying on clothes, cleaning up, you know, trying to, you know, put on for the Afrocentric party tonight. You know what I mean? Shout out to the BSA club and the BFC club, all these clubs for SCAD.
Nice. Okay, for sure. So, like, we talked a lot yesterday about grieving and what it means in joy, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' ideas and perspectives on what, you know, of how sisterhood has helped Black women and how it has brought joy and as a way of, as a coping mechanism for grief. Like, so what are your ideas of that? Like, how do you guys, you know, use sisterhood as a means of coping? And that's for anybody.
I don't think I wouldn't say, so like growing up in South Carolina with my dad, who's white, I didn't really have like the community, especially definitely not one like this, so it was kind of just myself, and then I mentioned like I don't really like talk to people, especially when I'm going through stuff, so I haven't really been able to like express to like people who are close to me, or especially like Black women in general, because you guys make me want to cry. Just like in a good way, but it's like it's really nice to be able to relate to like a group of people and like just not having to like censor yourself or like I don't know, like question what you're about to say, because we all have like similar experiences. And even though we're all very different, your hair, pasta. But it's you still can relate in a sense. But you know, that's just me.
Okay, for sure. Anybody else could take it?
Well, I feel like it's been very helpful to have a community, and, you know, have sisterhood as a way to process or move through grief. Any kind of support system in general, I think is helpful. And it's just also a way to be reminded that you're not alone. So sometimes grief can be connected to a higher sense of isolation, and when you have a community, when you have sisterhood or people who will check on you, the burden of like care isn't solely resting on yourself. So you have people who will cook for you, clean for you, remind you to go outside, take you out. So I think that is a huge benefit to like learning how to move forward after experiencing loss.
I agree. I'm now in my, late 30s, understanding how important it is to have a community, especially if people of my same, background. Been in the military since I was like 17, and so I've been around a lot of, cultures, ethnicities, backgrounds, and stuff like that. And I've never had a mindset to where, not to bring up racism or anything like that, but I've never really thought racism as a thing that I related to my life. I think of ignorance more as a prominent idea or a main idea. So like, I don't take racism to offense. I don't think about it, oh, like he hates me because I'm black. I don't know, it's just a me thing. But I did realize though, when I was going through a lot of therapy coming out of the military, that I seen a lot of Caucasian doctors that were in uniform who I could be crying dead in their face, like moods up and down, like throwing up and like feeling like I was literally at the last life, my last breath, like tomorrow was gonna be my last day. And they would still say, oh yeah, so you're just sad. Okay, well, you just need to have a rest day. And I'm just like, dang, okay, I'm gonna do this thing tomorrow. I don't know about this life. And it changed when I went to go see a black female therapist. I felt like she understood me, and like, I wasn't just sad. Like it was a cry for help. Like I needed somebody to make me feel something. Like I could live in the next day. You know what I mean? I had hope. I don't know. I feel like now I understand a lot more because I didn't have the understanding that a lot of people got. Like I always felt left out of a lot of conversations, and I didn't know why. But now I get it. I know how to gravitate towards certain communities when I need them.
I definitely resonate with everything y'all are saying. Just like the sisterhood, it's just like you feel understood. You don't feel alone. But it's real interesting that you talk about just like these medical professionals, just like part of the sisterhood is like, I could go to like my girls and I could talk about like different mental health issues. I could talk about different physical issues, and it's just like feeling not hurt by like men or not being hurt by, specifically white people, and it's just like how that's such a common relatable experience. It's like, all right, like I'm dealing with this issue, like I'm not alone in dealing with it, and just like kind of getting recommendations for them as well, like who can I go to, like what resources have y'all found to be helpful,
For sure. Those were all great answers, and obviously as someone who is a black woman, I definitely can relate to that. It's good to not always, carry the weight on your shoulders by yourself, especially when you're expected to be like black excellence and do everything perfect and meet this high standard that nobody can really reach. But it's kind of like, that's what is unfortunately, expected of black women. Well, speaking from my experience, is to always be perfect, always, be good, don't be too aggressive, but don't be too shy, don't be, don't, intimidate anybody, but, like, why aren't you speaking up? Why are you so quiet? So, like, there's a lot of that. So, I actually want to get your ideas on what stereotypes you guys have heard when it comes to stereotypes with black women and their emotions.
I think one of the earliest memories I have of like a stereotypical response or reaction to emotional expression is the idea that we are prone to overreacting, and a lot of the time that can be used as a way to kind of like minimize or dismiss like the root issue. So it isn't that something is causing my distress, it's that I am not allowed to experience or share that distress, especially if, you know, it's in a space or an environment where nobody feels capable or empowered to alleviate the distress or comfort you in that, me in that distress. So it becomes like a, there isn't a problem, you're the problem, kind of a situation. And in a lot of ways, it teaches young Black girls to like view themselves and their emotions as the enemy, or and not develop a healthy language or process for experiencing large, heavy emotions or anything of that nature, because to survive any of those environments, we had to like learn to shut down so that we wouldn't be viewed as overreacting.
Relating to what you're saying, I also think the perfect victim mentality is very dangerous, especially when it comes to like Black people as a whole. But when it comes to Black women, you can't get angry or overreact. It's just like, how are you supposed to be normal in a situation, specifically for the States, in the United States, like in a country that hates you? I'm sorry, just like plainly fucking hates you. How are you supposed to like navigate that world without getting angry and without being upset and getting sad and actually like reacting to and acknowledging how fucked up the situation is? So it's delusional as fuck. But also, relating to your question with stereotypes, I think for me specifically, it's what I mentioned the last time with aggressive, being too aggressive. I remember one time, so I mentioned I used to wrestle at Limestone, and it was all me and my wrestling mates, and we were playing volleyball. And I remember, and I make jokes all the time, but I remember one of my friends, who's not Black, was like, "Oh, you look really scary right now." And I don't know what it was. And I was joking. I was like, "Oh, is it because I'm Black?" She was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh, damn, bitch, what the fuck?" And so it's just like, first of all, hearing it and not realizing what just happened, and then having to like deal with it for the rest of the day. It's like, oh shit, this is actually like fucked up. And it's just, I don't know, it's like having to like sit with it and then realize that the people that you're around every day, it fucking doesn't like you. It's very sucky. Yeah.
I think one of the stereotypes I've heard for the longest time period growing up, I talk a lot about therapy and like things that have a lot to do with psychological, matters. But I knew nothing about therapy or, behavior health growing up, but I knew that all Black women was bipolar for some reason. I heard it in every situation. I heard it in relationships. I heard it in, around my family. I heard it around friends of the family. And I started to relate it to every Black woman, even, so I started to work myself into the ignorance. But it was like, if you was going through anything that wasn't like happy and calm, you was bipolar. And then I heard a lot of Black women actually doing that, like saying it. And so the older I got, I started finding out more things about this is actually an illness, and how people was throwing it around growing up. I'm just like, dang, that's crazy. So you're telling me that I can't be anything other than happy and calm. I have to be bipolar. And there's more to that word that I found out while I was in therapy, but I'll save it for another time because it's gonna get too long. But yeah, bipolar was definitely one thing.
So I'm thinking about a specific stereotype, and it will tie to an emotion, but it's just like kind of what we were talking about earlier off camera. It's just like this concept of like you cannot be mediocre, you cannot, you know, be ignorant at anything, right? So just like in this industry, I feel like I have to be knowledgeable about every single department. I got to know every single little thing, because it's like I have like even like the briefest moment of like, oh, you know, I have a question, or oh, I don't know something instantly. And this has happened to me on a couple of different occasions, specifically, you know, white people, you know, they'll jump in and be like, oh, you don't know anything, let me just come in and take over. And it's really belittling, it's really minimizing, you know. So I have this burden on me of like, I gotta learn everybody's job, I need to know every single little thing I have to do. And it's frustrating, because other people could show up to the film set or to the project and not know anything. You could have I'm going to tell you, you can have a white male director not know anything. Oh, that's okay. We give him all the respect, the command, whatever. But like, you can't show up even as a PA and not know something. So it's really belittling and minimizing, and it's exhausting.
It's also, I would say, relating to what you just said, kind of irritating in a sense whenever, if you don't know as well as the person, let's say, for instance, you don't know how to do that specific thing, and someone's like jumping in to help, and you can't tell if they're being genuine or they're trying to undermine you when they're like explaining something. It's like you don't know, if you start to blame yourself, like, why am I seeing this person as quote unquote mansplaining or like talking down to me, or am I just being defensive because my cognitive dissonance is kicking in? And so it's just a weird battle like goes through your head all the time.
I think one of the most important questions that I wanted to ask was like, what are the ways that people can, or not even people, how are one of the ways that we can start dismantling these stereotypes so that women can get the proper diagnoses that they need in healthcare, so that we're not seen as the, you know, the stereotypical angry black woman, you know. And so like, you know, what are some ways that we can dismantle these stereotypes?
Listening to black women is something that I think, listening and not saying anything, just shutting the fuck up, just listen. It's so, like, communicating is one thing, but being able to listen to someone and actually sit down, not take your biases out of the conversation, and just accept what they're saying for what it is, and not be offended because they said something that you didn't like, or they said it in a way that you didn't like. And just listen, and then when they're done, respond. It's such an important, in any situation, but in this one specifically, just listen to black people's pain, and ask questions, not stupid questions, because there are stupid questions. Ask questions in a way that is genuine, but also make sure it's not something you can just look up. I'm sorry, if you can pick up your phone and look it up and get a straight answer, don't fucking talk to me. It's just like, Google's free. But literally, just listen to black women and don't inject yourself into the conversation when it's not needed. Yeah. Go ahead.
Anybody can take it.
I agree with what they said, projecting instead of asking questions and assuming. People assume a lot, and it's unnecessary, but I feel like it's a lot of ego involved in it. Everybody wants to know it. They want to be the know-it. And I don't want to say, no, they want to be the know-it-alls. Like, I know this because I know somebody who knows somebody who actually knows somebody that went through this already. So you can't tell me because I know already. And it's sad. Everybody's situation isn't the same. You know what I mean? So just ask questions. It could be that simple. It could all be so simple. That's it.
I think one thing, like, becoming comfortable with the word black, like,
Oh my God,
people are
African
so
American is wild to
afraid.
me. It's like African American. I'm like, nigga. Like, what the fuck?
Because
I'm so sorry.
become comfortable with the word black. It is okay. It is not offensive. That's how we identify, you know, become comfortable with the word. Like, it's okay. Become comfortable with black women in spaces of positions of power, you know, like your boss might be a black woman, you know, the president, CEO, executive, whatever, might be a black woman. Get over it, get used to it. This is 2024, get over it, you know, like become comfortable with that. And then just also just like treat us like human beings. Like we're not some mythical, magical, you know, whatever. We're human beings. Like I put one leg into my pants at a time, you know. Treat us like human beings and like have
Yeah, sorry.
have empathy.
I'm a fairy, so.
Don't get me wrong, like we are magic. Don't get me wrong, but you know we're human beings. Like treat us as such, and you know just having that empathy. Like we're human beings too. Like we go through stuff, we feel things. We all have that same shared experience. So
Yeah, I feel like dismantling stereotypes is a lot of work, and
Yes.
I can't say that I'm interested in offering my labor or energy to that cause. There's enough white people to go around to dismantle something they've mantled, I guess. And I think that, you know, like Audra said, like listening is very interesting. In training, they teach that listening is the allowing yourself to be changed. And when I think about it like that, you know, I can see the fear that people have allowing themselves to be changed by black women. Because you'll probably be transformed. And I feel like that is a responsibility and a power that we share amongst ourselves. So when it comes to like, you know, sharing resources or learning about, you know, safe practices or things that we can do to improve our experience and quality of life, it's like being able to show up and listen to each other is definitely, I just feel like that's just a valuable investment. Like I'm genuinely and generally more interested in black women as a black woman than any other combination of identities. And so when I think about how we're impacted by the negative and the harmful structures, whether it be racism, anti-blackness, patriarchy, capitalism, whatever, all of those things, I feel as though like the way that we sustain or imagine ourselves closer to like a kind of freedom is by being able to be changed by one another and creating space to share the pain and share the remedy that like we know to be true.
Oh, I was gonna say, intersectionality is also something that should be looked into a little more when it comes to dehumanizing black people in general, because like growing up most of us are like in film, I'm assuming, and so like growing up with mostly white film, especially living in Africa, growing up on Disney, mostly white film, I am able to relate to those characters, even though they look nothing like me, because we feel the same emotions, we go through the same things. However, whenever it's like more than 5 black people on set and they're like main characters, it's considered a black film, and I'm like, why is it that you're not able to relate to them? Because we're the fucking same. Nothing changes except the skin tone. So being able to acknowledge the fact that the only difference is the fact that we're like one of us burn and the other one doesn't. Like I'm serious. And so intersectionality is something that is so important with not treating black people as like some magical being or like a alien or a different creature, because we are all the same. We are all able to relate to you as like white people or any other race in general. So why is it different that you can't? And that's something that I think would help a lot with dismantling it, but also to your point of like we don't have to be the educators on things that were done to us all the fucking time. It is not our job for us to dismantle things that you put in place. Do the work yourself. We don't have to educate you on all the time. But yeah.
I think it's each one, what'd you say, each one, teach one?
Reach one.
Reach one, that one. That one. Let's get it, okay. But no, for me, like, I am not a generalized person. Like, I don't like general things. I find out from, each person is a source to me. You know what I mean? So I don't go, I know there are groups of people, and sometimes a group of people can be affected by one person. But for me, I like to talk to the individual to see how they think and why they think, you know, the things that they think. So if someone feels a way about me or where I come from or a general idea, getting to know the background of their idea makes me understand why they think the way they think. And so I've related to a lot of people and the white, you know, idea of things and what I've been associated with, and I know it comes from somewhere, you know. So I really like to break it down. I don't even think of race as a matter of fact. I'm not even gonna go there because every time I'm gonna just stop talking about that race.
You gonna
thing.
stop?
Yeah, I'm gonna not do that.
I feel like you should just.
Well, if you've been there before, you know. Okay, I found that a little interesting because I was gonna push back a little bit in the sense of like our brains are pattern seeking. So even though you like to be specific, like that's a luxury.
It is.
In the sense of like people don't have the safety to engage in those conversations when it can be that generalization put your life at risk.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, the constructs that exist, we're not always in a position to like change them or question if they're even working against us. Like it is what it is.
I can definitely understand that.
I didn't mean to like, you know.
No.
You know, don't
No.
do it, but it's like
I get it. I
Yeah.
really do, and that's why, you know, I feel like the way I think is different. I mean, maybe the same as some people in the world, but the way I feel about a lot of things, like I could honestly put myself at risk talking to certain people sometimes, but I don't know that. You know, I don't know what path this could lead me down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with taking the risk of having these conversations individually, because that's just how I feel. I've had a conversation with somebody who was a part of the Ku Klux Klan. I've had a conversation with, I could tell you, I've talked to some people that you would never be in a room with before. I promise you, I've been around different countries. I don't want to put people's business out, even though you never see these people again before in my life, but I just find it interesting. Everybody thinks different on a personal level, and most people are inspired and influenced by other people when they're in the room versus by themselves. So I'd rather talk to somebody personally on an individual basis than I would a group of people.
I think something that we should, and to your, like, I understand what you're saying completely, and I'm not like both of you. I think something that we should try to not equate is finding a reason for why someone does something and why someone feels a certain way, and taking that reason and using it as an excuse. Like being able to not use, this person can be like, you know, they grew up in, this is how they were raised, or they were abused or whatever. Yeah, but they're still a grown ass adult.
No, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And you're still making your own choices, and yes, find reasons for why. That's why therapy is this. Find reason for why people do things, but also understand that they should be held accountable for the dumb shit that they're doing.
For sure, always.
Yeah.
Never take accountability out of this equation. It's one of the biggest things, and that's why when I have these individual conversations, because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a, you know, no one's hired appointed counselor or anything like that. But I think I take it upon myself to find out why that individual does the way, thinks the way they think, and how it comes full circle, like from the family, from the friends they hang out with. Again, I think it's with an association of other people. So for me, I find out and people tend to understand accountability more than they let on. I've been in a room with somebody who I've seen them because I watch people and I watch how they act around certain people and what they say, and they'll come to me, and when I'm around, they'll say different things and I'm like, were you nervous when you was around these people? Or like, did you feel pressured because of this? And I've gotten honest things like, yeah, that's the community that they're part of. It's hard to change communities. You know what I mean? So when you find a person that you could relate to and get down to a different level, it's easy to come out of what you're normally used to. So I just, and it's not gonna change just like that. If it was that easy, man, we have a new world right now to where everybody was holding hands and kumbaya and on the regular, but it's not like that. Like, it's never gonna be like that. And that's a true statement.
I had like two thoughts, but the second thought came about with something you were saying, just like about someone behaving a different way in a different space. Should I be real? Should I be real?
Be mother slucking real.
Okay, so this is being like, I guess, somewhat vulnerable. There was this white guy in my undergrad years, and it was the vibe was vibing. Okay, I never thought, but the vibes were vibing. I was like, okay, cool. I would bring him around my black friends, my girls. He's cool. He's cool. Then all of a sudden, we're in these white spaces. Why are you acting differently towards me? Why are you treating me differently? And now exposing his business even further, he's off engaged to a non-black woman that he was real quick to try to, who can I present to his racist white family? Oof. We ain't even.
It gets dangerous now. It does. It gets very dangerous.
And we have that conversation of like, I am interested in you, but I don't know, my family is this certain way. I grew up in said state, said city, and just my ex-girlfriend is white and my family has certain thoughts and beliefs, and it's like, that's too much work.
It is a lot of work.
I deserve to be loved for me and respected and appreciated for me. So that's too much work. I'm not even going down that path. So that's what I thought about when you said that. But going back to something that was mentioned earlier, intersectionality, like feminism, like fighting for women's rights. We are fighting for all women's rights. We are not fighting for just white women's rights. We are fighting for all women's rights. That includes black women. Just saying.
You know how funny the Barbie movie is to me when we talk about that shit?
I gotta see that
I'm just
movie.
like, you haven't?
No.
It's just because everybody's like, oh, feminism. Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie didn't get the amount of acknowledgement that they needed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, granted, understand, but also a Hispanic woman for the first time won it's an Oscar, and no one's mentioned. And I'm like, that is the point. That is the point. It's that you are so focused on these two white women who have gotten their accolades before for the stuff that they've done. However, this Hispanic woman, for the first time, made history, and no one says anything. It is so, honestly, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing because I'm like, you cannot sit here and say you're a feminist, but the only time it matters is when white women aren't winning. And let's not get into Taylor Swift, but that's why she pisses me off too.
Let's not get into what?
Taylor Swift.
Oh. What? Get into what? Taylor Swift.
Not Taylor Smith.
That's a person though. Somewhere in this world.
But yeah, you're being real quiet though.
I mean, thank you.
No worries
for pointing that out. I guess thinking about like just the topic and grief overall, like these are all things that are very like painful. Like they're not like, I don't know, like we talk about it and it's the status quo, so to speak, but like when I think about what are the like unspoken kind of like rules, is that black women have to pay for everything, is that we have to sacrifice more, we have to accommodate more, we have to shrink more, we have to silence ourselves more, we have to consider everything more, everything is just at a higher
Cost.
higher cost, higher rate, and higher, expectancy. And it's, I mean, if that's not making people sad, if that's not, something to cry about, then what is gonna change? I think a lot of the time when listening to these conversations, it's like, I can't really, I can quote unquote laugh but it's just sad. And I think we all have ways of rationalizing or disassociating. Someone even said cognitive dissonance, our way through it. And I think that's a trick too, where it's like, oh, surviving it isn't finding a way to work within it. I think feeling the pain and feeling the grief and actually connecting back to our bodies as the site of violence is a way to live more freely. There's none of this shit that doesn't piss me off. There isn't any of it that doesn't infuriate me. Whether it be walking into a classroom or having a professor say something insensitive, or even a potential partner. All of that is violent, all of that is harmful, all of that warrants grief and mourning, because the reality of our society says every single day, you're not it. You're not worth it. You're not valuable. I don't have to believe you. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to trust you. And at the end of the day, practicing or finding spaces to practice a reality where that isn't the case is important. So we talked about communities and sisterhood. It's those are my basic requirements. I need to be in spaces where I am valued, I am important, I am listened, heard, seen, respected, and I'm sure. I don't have to question, did that just happen? Did they just say that? Did they mean that? You talked about the delayed processing of essentially what is shock. And while we've lived through it for so long, it's boring. it's whack. It's so dead. And the way that we survive by numbing ourselves isn't sustainable.
And I think that's one of the things, because I remember a couple of classes ago, I was talking to, had a presentation about, what's the show with Issa Rae and improv, pretty much. And they were talking about how Black women is the funniest people they know. And I was like, yeah, that's because we're the most hurt.
Yeah.
We go through the most shit. And it's just, it is sickening. But back to me specifically with how I cope with things, it's the only way I know how to really express the stuff, because I've been making jokes the entire time. I'm uncomfortable as fuck right now. I'm uncomfortable. I'm trying not to cry half of the time, and that's because I don't know any other way to do it without breaking down. And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how most of the Black women that I know go through this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We make jokes and we relate it, and we know. For me, it's we know that the stuff that we're talking about is devastating, and most of the time, we understand the severity of it, but we're not allowed to feel that. We're not allowed to acknowledge that. And going back to where all of this started, going back to our ancestors, they weren't allowed to act out. They weren't allowed to be mad or angry and stuff like that. And so we learn trauma from it. We learn how to block our trauma. We learn how to cope with it in humor. And it is, like you said, it is sad and it is devastating, but it's also survival. Mm-hmm. And you still have to survive, because yes, things have changed, but nothing's changed either. It's just hitting. It's just in a different form. It's a different animal now. Same patterns though. And I don't know. Oh, it's just shit, man.
It is. And I guess I think what hurts the most is not being able to see when you could cry, when you should cry. Us sitting here in this moment, it's if you're not gonna get it out there, I would only pray and wish you can have the ability and the permission. Yeah, well, I mean, despite that, because there's even issues in that complex, but it's the fact of the matter that, like you said, we're being trained out of being able to recognize safety. so we don't have to ever expect it, so we don't ever have to have it, you know? Like, at the end of the day, we should be breaking down crying whenever we can steal those moments, you know? And I guess that is the new luxury, right?
Being able to
Being
block it out.
able to cry and being able to
It is.
break down and being able to be safe.
Yeah.
Cause you're describing consequences, right? Like, how soon do we learn consequences for being human?